checkered flag in the air.
And he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your NASCAR, DFS, and sports betting home. That is Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. We are here to get you set for the Echo Park Grand Prix with qualifying in the books, with practice in the books. Very excited about the potential of this race. Brian Twining rocking the very cool Mark Martin hat that I'm very, very jealous of. Cut to me later on eBay scrounging for like a Terry Labonte, maybe a Bobby Labonte Interstate Batteries. Very excited about that. But Brian, how's it going?
Oh man, I'm doing good. It was fun watching the truck race this morning. As you know, we're recording this on Saturday, shortly before the Xfinity race. Yeah. Seeing the no stage break cautions. However, we wound up essentially with a stage 2 stage break caution as somebody spun out and cost Kyle Busch the win there. But looking at the way that the race went along and just the different strategies that people were under as going a couple laps after the stage or maybe a couple laps before the end of the stage. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow with the Cup cars to see how many different pit strategies we're going to see out of these guys, because like the previous 5 or 6 years, guys are not going to be able to just play for stage points or punt a stage hoping for the end of the race, because there is no built-in cautions here. Like, they are going to need some help if that's the case. Yep.
And I was going to say, we both had Kyle Busch outright tickets for the truck race, and didn't love seeing him not be able to stay out when Zane Smith was able to do that, because he had the pit and there was a caution. It was a whole thing. So really mucked up our day, but that's okay. We had a nice March Madness day yesterday. The things are turning around a little bit for us, maybe. I don't know. I'm excited.
Go Aztecs, baby.
I'm just counting down to the days till Creighton and UConn play for the championship. It'll be a very, very good day for your boy. So anyways, we are here to talk some NASCAR. We'll jump in. We'll look at some DraftKings lineups. We'll build some lineups. And we'll flip over. We'll look at our current betting card, figure out where we're adding, where we're going. We talked a little bit, but I'm going to be adding probably at the top of the board. We'll see where we get. But let's look at the DraftKings pricing. A little new layout for y'all. Hopefully you can see it okay. If you can't, please let us know down in the comments. But it looks like it should be all right. Let me see. Can I get a little bit bigger? How's that, Brian?
There we go. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Cool. So Kyle Larson starting 13th is the most expensive driver. We only have 3 drivers above 10K this week, which I think is kind of interesting. Kyle Larson starting 13th, Kyle Busch starting 9th, and then Ross Chastain starting 12th. All really interesting options as second dominators, guys who could get out to the front early, dominate the race, most of the race. All guys whose betting odds are incredibly short. I guess rank them for me, Brian. 1, 2, 3. If you had to put them into a DraftKings lineup.
Man, right off the bat, when the odds were dropped, or even actually before the odds dropped, my favorite for this race was going to be Ross Chastain, and I don't think I saw anything that would make me go off of him. He ran fine in practice. Like, single lap speed, especially this year, here means absolutely nothing to me.
Yep.
It's going to be long run. So I think it would have to be Chastain. I still think Kyle Larson is among, the best road racers. Again, he's starting 13th. It's not like he put down a crappy lap. Yep. And then Kyle Busch, he's a close third. He's got a great history at road courses prior to stage racing. So it'll be interesting to see how the old guys fare in a type of race that they're way more familiar with than a lot of these young pups.
Yep. I also think it'd be interesting to start with 2 of those guys and try and build your lineup from there, but we'll have to see if that's possible. I think there's going to be a couple guys in the 9K range and below. They're going to be extremely popular starting near the front. So it might be a way to get a little bit unique, but we'll have to kind of see how it goes. For me, I think it would be, it's Larson, Chastain are 1A, 1B, and then Kyle Busch is right there. But yeah, I think I might go Larson, Chastain, Busch, but they're all incredibly appealing, and I wouldn't fault anybody who, like I said, started with 2 of those and went from there. As we dive into the 9K range, we have Tyler Reddick, who looked awesome in practice, who put down an amazing lap, starting second, looked really good. The Dinger, who we were all excited about, obviously full-time ride. Feel a lot safer about his upside just because he is trying to be a playoff driver this year. Starting 7th, Byron on the pole, 9,500. This guy is just hot fire right now, even after a little bit of struggle last week. Chris Bell starting 14th at 93, and Ryan Blaney starting 38th at 9,100. Had a flat spot on his tire. That's a big part of why he qualified there. I think it will be interesting, obviously, with the no stage breaks, Brian, to see if drivers farther back are a little more aggressive, whether they're pitting a little early before stage breaks, whether they're going to try and push it a little bit farther, to try and find a way to get ahead of a lot of this, because it is hard to pass on road courses as you're trying to get through the field. But if you can lop off a chunk because people are pitting, or during all the live action pitting, as they as we say, moving up might be a little more feasible. I could see Blaney being very popular and wouldn't fault anybody who goes there.
Yeah, I just worry about like how long would it take him to work his way even to the top 10, especially with no built-in ways of skipping a pit stop or taking 2 tires against 4 versus everyone else. I don't know how we're going to attack the guys at the back of the board, and what our realistic expectations for somebody like Blaney should be. Especially knowing how fast the Chevrolets have looked and what they did here last year, albeit with the stage breaks. I don't want to put too much emphasis on that, but the Chevys, they look ridiculous here last year. They looked fantastic during qualifying. So I don't know how Ryan Blaney, it's going to take a miracle, in my opinion, for him to work his way to the front.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're building multiple lineups, you figure that out, right? You build some lineups where you take more guys starting near the front that have a chance to win. Maybe you go with some other guys that are starting near the back, see if they can move up. It's not a super speedway. You can't move up through the field super easily. So, but like I said, I think if you are creative, now we've seen Blaney struggle with stuff like pitting and tire issues late, and he's already going through that qualifying. So maybe he's just a name to cross off. But I think he will be popular, and if he has a good day, like he is potentially capable of, he will be somebody you need to have in your lineups.
I think that is probably one of the most underappreciated points you could have made this season. These are going to be green flag stops, and Ryan Blaney, from what we've seen the last year plus, like his pit crew cannot be relied upon in crucial situations to put together, fast pit stops. So I think you're right. Honestly, for our purposes, I'm going to skip over him this week completely.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault anybody who does that. We did forget to mention Suarez, who rounds out the 9K starting 5th. Happy to have him on my betting card. I think he will be a strong performer. We saw what he did on road courses last year. And
Trackhouse are ballers here.
Yep. Looking really good. Of the guys starting at the front, we have Suarez, we have Byron, we have Dinger, we have Reddick. Who is it? Trackhouse guy? Is it? Are you interested in Tyler Reddick? Like, what names jump out to you among that group?
Well, obviously there are other people who know more about this than me, but I think it really depends on the contest that you're in. And if you feel like you're in a contest with a bunch of novices or people that are, just trying to have fun in DFS, I feel like of those names, Suarez is probably the one that's going to garner the least amount of attention, because William Byron has had the most recent success of the guys. AJ Allmendinger is the ringer at road courses. And if anybody's doing research, I'm sure they'll bring up, AJ Allmendinger, he only ran 5 races last year, all road courses, and he performed well in every single one. For me, I think I'd rather go Daniel Suarez starting 5th because of that starting position. I feel like people will be a little bit more wary of the possibilities of him dropping back, as opposed to a Byron and a Hendrick car and a Dinger who's probably going to run near top 5 all day.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah. So I think it's Suarez and the Dinger are the two that are going to be slept on more than the Byron and Reddick, who looked amazing in practice and qualifying. And the Twitter world is just, group just like super excited about. So, but yeah, I think they're all compelling in the right situations. But yeah, I mean, I was into Suarez coming in. I was into Dinger coming in. I've seen nothing to fade them at this point. Let's dive into the 8K range, where you have a bunch of interesting names. Alex Bowman qualified 6th. Logano qualified 15th. Austin Cindric, top 3 in qualifying, looked really fast, looked good in practice. I think is going to be an interesting name if you want to be a little bit different. Denny Hamlin starting 21st. Briscoe 19th. And then Martin Truex didn't have the qualifying I was expecting, but I'm still optimistic that he can turn it around on Sunday. Starting 25th could be a nice move through the field, flirt with the top 10, potentially a little bit better. Same with Kevin Harvick, but I feel a lot better about Truex and Harvick as we round out the 8K range. Are you with me on Truex? And then I guess beyond him, who's the most interesting of this kind of 8K group?
Well, just tweeting with our buddy Ryan over at iFantasy Race, he had mentioned something about like pre stage breaks, Joey Logano being really successful at like long run type of tracks, and one of the guys who really like flashed the last season without stage breaks was Denny Hamlin. He finished, I think, top 5 at both Sonoma and Watkins Glen that year. So I think he's somebody who's kind of worked his way into like my purview this week, starting in the middle of the field. It'll be interesting to see what the Toyotas are able to do, because they sucked last year at these tracks, and Tyler Reddick put that noise to sleep with his speed during qualifying. But I mean, again, I'm still unsure how to approach this race. I mean, I've never looked at NASCAR betting without stage breaks. So like, I'm still, admittedly kind of in the dark here about how we're going to look at this thing. But I mean, Denny Hamlin is somebody for me who's always dangerous at tracks, and I think could put together a decent run, maybe crack the top 10. I think he's the most intriguing guy in that spot. Yeah.
And I kind of trust him to make better decisions, like when to pit, when to not pit, ways to be aggressive, ways to be a little more patient. So that I think that's a good call on your part. Happy to see Bowman qualify well. I think he is somebody that will be interesting on Sunday as well. Let's dive into the 7K range. We have Brad Keselowski, Christopher Buescher starting 32nd. Jordan Taylor looked awesome in Chase Elliott's car. Obviously is the road course guy, while Josh Berry drives the more traditional tracks, qualified 4th. He's actually somebody that I'm not afraid to go to, and I think a lot of people might be a little worried about. So that could be an interesting way to pivot. Eric Jones starting top 10, which is impressive. Jimmy qualified 31st. Michael McDowell 20th, and then Kimi Räikkönen 22nd. I remember his last run was not very impressive, so it's good to see him get a little more confidence in the car. I guess as I ask you again, of the 7K range, who's the most compelling options if you're building lineups?
Like you said, Jordan Taylor, I am not afraid to go there. I mean, this is a guy with a lot of experience at road courses. My only worry is driving. I believe he came from the ISMA, however the hell you say it, racing series. So, I mean, clearly first time in a next gen car, like this is going to ride different. The tires are going to wear different. Wow. And that's something that he's never experienced before. So it'll be interesting to see how he progresses throughout the day. I mean, obviously he's got one of the best pit crews in the sport going for him, and some of the best equipment. So he's somebody that might be faded in a lot of lineups, especially starting 4th. So I think he's really intriguing. Chris Buescher, I loved him coming into the week. I was kind of sad to see them not put together the greatest laps. I mean, they were like a second or two, slower than everyone else.
Both RFK cars were really not good.
But the one thing again is Keselowski comes from that breed of guy who was racing well before stages. Maybe they have something in their back pocket in terms of saving tires or fuel run. That being said, it's hard to to not want to go to Keselowski or a Buescher. But again, in the same breath as Ryan Blaney, like it's going to be difficult to move through the field and stay there without having to take some risks, which could potentially cost you a good finishing position.
Right. And that could be the thing too, right? Like they stay out a little bit longer or they pit sooner and then they all of a sudden they're running in the top 10, but then they have to pit again before the other guys are pitting.
Or they just have major fall off because they're on 3 to 4, lap older tires, which here that's 12 miles of turns and skidding and bouncing. That is not something you want to have happen to you late in the race.
No, I think that's a good call. Let's dive into the 6K. We have Jenson Button, Ty Gibbs starting 17th, Austin Dillon, Justin Haley, and Ryan Preece round out the 6K range. We'll dive into 5K and below in a second. I don't mean, do any of these guys any of these guys scream value to you, or are these just like okay, let's skip over the 6K range and see if we can't find something else?
Honestly, I feel like this is the first time all year I wouldn't mind going to a Ty Gibbs. Starting 17th, 6,600. I feel like the price is right. And again, if we can see him put together like early laps here, I'll feel a lot more comfortable about it. But I think this is like right where his finishing position should be set at anyways, the low teens, low 20s. Like, I think there's a possibility he could run 15th, but again, at 6,600, you're hoping for a top 15. And if he could just stay there, I think it'd be okay.
Yeah. And I honestly, I feel like he's close enough to the front where he can move up, get into that top 10, be interesting. He doesn't have to go through 20 cars. He only has to go through 7. Plays it right on the stage breaks. He could be somebody that makes a lot of sense. Let's round out the rest of the group. We have Almirola starting 39th. He's going to be tough. I know he's much, much cheaper, and maybe you just hope he gets a top 20 and you're happy with it. But it's going to be hard for me. Noah Gragson was really impressive in qualifying. Obviously got into the last top 10, finished 10th. It could be interesting, but I think there's other options, even if it costs me a little bit more, that I'd feel better about even starting farther forward than I expect. Todd Gilliland, Harrison Burton, Ricky Stenhouse, Corey LaJoy, Connor Daly, Cody Ware, Ty Dillon, and Josh Bilicki round out the group.
Absolutely no interest in any of those guys.
We'll see. We'll see. We might get forced into somebody down here if we have to.
True.
If we want to get aggressive, but let's build a lineup or two and see where we go. So, Brian, I think there was a few names that we were really, really simpatico on. Obviously, the 2 Trackhouse guys make a lot of sense.
Yep.
We can decide whether to Blaney or not. But I guess how do you want to start this lineup if I give you the first pick?
Well, I think because we're both on him, we got to start with Ross Chastain. He got bet down to the favorite prior to practice and qualifying. I didn't see anything that would make me not think that he's able to win this race.
Yep. Either. Can we just double Trackhouse it and go see how it goes? All right. So we got to find some value. Let's see what we can get, and then we can always go back up. So we have 5th and 12th. I don't know how aggressive we want to get.
I will say one guy who looked pretty good during practice, he had the 8th best 5-lap average, which clearly is not something to write home about here, but that's Michael McDowell. He did have an issue during one of his qualifying laps, which caused him to qualify so poorly, I believe, skidding the tires. But I think he's somebody who could potentially crack the top 10 here.
Yeah. And he's somebody who, not always a road course warrior, has popped at times and has been solid. And we're not asking him to win from starting 20th. We're asking him flirt with the top 10, Michael. Have a nice day, ride around, and get us some points. So I like that.
Stay on track, please.
I like that call quite a bit. Okay, so we have about 8K per driver, depending on how aggressive we want to get. We can do a few different things. Justin Haley, Ty Gibbs, we both seem to be interested in. Do you want to try and RFK it up? Do you want to Ryan Blaney? Do you?
I mean, of the
Martin
two
Truex?
RFK guys, Buescher was really good in finishing results last year. But again, like how much of that was due to strategic moves with the stage breaks, especially the end of stage 2 and then pitting late and then cautions going his way. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I could definitely be looking at this far too deep, but
I like Truex. I don't mind Blaney with this lineup. I'm also willing to be a little more aggressive, maybe grab another 10K guy and see what it does to us.
Oh, we would be having Connor Daly and Josh Bilicki. Oh, that's actually not too bad.
This is what I'm saying.
I mean,
this is what I'm saying.
It's really not too bad, but then we're stuck with a Haley or a Priest or a Almirola.
Almirola. This is what I'm talking about. Like we had the it's not sexy, but my God, it could be fun.
The one thing I will say though is of the guys that I guess no, I take that back. I was just gonna say we have 3 guys that could potentially win here: Larson, Suarez, and Chastain.
Yep. And that's why you grab 2 of the guys from front. Because the other thing that happens is the best guys separate, and so you want to have 2 cracks at that. So you'd like to have a Busch and Byron and or Chastain and Larson or I will say Haley had like a top 15 day here last year. He started 9th, he finished 15th. He was 1st or 6th after the stage break, but had a 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, like 14, 15th best driver rating. Let's see how he did at some of the other courses just to see if he keeps
popping. So last year he only had 1 finish outside the top 20 at road courses.
Yeah, and he at Road America, he did finish 24th, but he started 34th and was 9th after stage 1 and 6th after stage 2. So obviously had some issues or some, and even no, that was Harrison Burton led a lap.
I don't mind going to Haley. I think he's somebody that's going to get overlooked, especially because he's not starting as far back as you normally hope.
Save that lineup. Let's build one more just for shits and gigs. NASCAR. Let's see here. So I think the other idea is maybe we skip. Let's see if we skip over that range. So I'm going to start. I want to put, you like Denny Hamlin a lot. I'm with you there. I think he is interesting. You know what? How about this? I like Truex.
I was just going to say, yep.
And then
why don't we put Reddick in there? Yep. The all Toyota.
That's what I was, see, we're syncing up. Okay. So we start with the Toyota trio.
I was just going to say, and to save more salary, we're just skipping over the 10K guys. Why don't we add AJ Allmendinger? I feel like we're going to have some exposure to him, knowing how good he is at road courses.
Yep. And then we get down to below 7K. So once again, Ty Gibbs makes sense. Harrison Burton is not terrible. I don't really love Almirola, but he is an easier click than maybe, but that's probably a dumb idea. So Gibbs and could do Gibbs and Haley again. We could do, I don't love Ryan Preece.
Preece has a couple of top 15 runs. The one thing is SHR has been absolutely disastrous this year.
I mean, if we want to go that route, we just take both of them.
Oh, that is gross. But
yeah.
I mean, honestly, if we were going to do that, I would just go with Almirola, thinking that he could get a top 30 out of that.
Okay.
And at 5,800, if you get almost 10 placement points,
and then we can go all the way up here. We can do Keselowski or Buescher. We can go with Jordan Taylor. We did like Michael McDowell. Bubba, I mean, if you want to stay at the Toyota thing.
F it. Let's do it. Let's do it all. Let's do the Toyota. The
Plus
Toyota.
The Dinger and Amarola. Wow. What a lineup.
It's great. It's disgusting.
Gross.
These are the ones that win when you have no idea what you're doing and you just throw shit at the wall and sometimes it sticks.
Speaking of sticks, let's go look at our betting cards, see where we're at as we sit here today, and then we'll update odds and go accordingly. So I have Suarez at 16-1. I have Alex Bowman at 20-1 and Kyle Larson at 6.5-1. Those are all pre-race. If you are not checking out the pod pre-race, we do preview the betting card, find names to get ahead of qualifying practice to try and find some value and all that good stuff. I have Chastain over Larson at +110. I have Bowman over Blaney at -120, which feels great right about now. The Dinger over Byron at plus money. That's probably still the case. We'll see. I went Truex over Briscoe as my best bet at -105. I have a Dinger top 10 at -122, a Bowman top 10 at +100, and a Truex top 10 at +155. Brian, break down your card as we sit right now.
So I opened the week with a Buescher 30-1 bet, which doesn't look great now post qualifying. I mean, his number is now up to 40-1 in places. So obviously I missed the bag there. Larson at 6.5-1. I'm really not sad about it. He's 7 or 7.5 after practice and qualifying. You kind of expected that number wouldn't move very much.
Yeah, and honestly, like I think he didn't qualify great and his number barely moved. But if he was what Byron did or even what Reddick did, that's
he'd be 3-1 or 2.5-1.
Exactly. Or even if it's 4-1. So that is part of the risk you take by betting before all that stuff happens. So if you want to be more patient, potentially get a worse number, but feel better about it, betting after qualifying and after practice is probably the move. But if you see a number you really like, jumping on it early is never a bad idea. So that is the risk we take. We didn't get housed, and we still feel really good about his potential on Sunday.
Yeah. And then the matchups I had were Chastain over Kyle Busch, and then I was riding with Kyle. Truex over Chase Briscoe. I only had 2 top 10s out. AJ Allmendinger, which there's no effing way you're finding a number anywhere near that now. And then Chris Buescher at +150, which he was my best bet. We'll see how bad these numbers are. I took a dart throw on Truex top Toyota, which after seeing Tyler Reddick, I don't know if that's going to hit. Buescher top Ford. We'll see. The Fords did not look great. And then I piggybacked that with a Logano top Ford because they were some long shots, 6.5-1. So I still feel okay about those potential wise.
Yeah, and if Logano has like the day and is able to, do some stuff and just like he's been awesome all season long. He could get 6th and be the top 4 and you're cashing that bet. So
it's also too like how many guys during practice and qualifying were putting together hot laps, just seeing how fast of a lap they can run, and how many guys were seeing what line they can run to preserve their tire the best.
Yep. Okay, let's take a look at the odds as they sit right now. As we mentioned, Tyler Reddick is your betting favorite because of how impressive he looked in practice and qualifying, +450, 475 at Caesars. Kyle Larson right behind him, still 650 +600, so right where we bet it, Brian. So it's right on the number. Kyle Busch between 650 and 850. Ross Chastain is sitting at 8-1, as Brian mentioned before. Everything got going. His number crashed at Circa. He was the favorite. I believe it's 7-1. So 8-1's a good number. Still really compelling. Might be the one I add at the top of the board. Byron looked amazing, and now he's sitting at 9 or 10 or even 14 if you can get to Rivers. So not a bad bet. Dinger at 12 or 14. I got him at. Did I? Oh no, I didn't add him.
Yeah, so just to pause you real quick, I don't know if these numbers are actually up to date because I have a few of the books open, and Byron is 6. Let me see. At Caesars, he's now he's the second favorite at +550.
Okay, let's head to Odds Checker and see if they're better. If not, then we can just run through the some of those sites.
Of course, some of these places are super slow to update these things because of the fact that we are dead in the heat of March Madness.
Yeah, there's a lot to focus on. These are old too, right?
That's the championship odds.
Oh, that's the championship odds. So yeah, they're not even up to date. So let's go. Yeah, this looks better. Let's use DraftKings and then always shop the numbers. Figure out what books you have access to. Hopefully, Action Network or Odds Checker or somebody will up to date once the numbers are revised. But DraftKings is up to date, so we'll use their numbers and kind of go from there. So we got Reddick at plus 350, Byron at 6, Larson at 7, Cindric at 8, obviously off of his hot qualifying. Chastain all the way down to 10, so I really like that. Kyle Busch at 10. Like I'm happy I waited on these guys because that's a much better number. Suarez at 10, so I did bet him pre 16, so that's nice little value there. Bowman at 15, the Dinger at 10. I guess let's stop there. So 10 and beyond. If we're stepping to the window right now, Brian, what numbers are most compelling to you in terms of outrights?
Oh, it's got to be Ross Chastain 10-1. I would even possibly go to Kyle Busch at 10-1. It's just hard because the last 2 weeks RCR has not looked great, and we know what Trackhouse can bring to the table here at this track. So I think Chastain is the most intriguing guy for me.
Yeah, I like Chastain. I wouldn't fault anybody who went double Trackhouse, but I do think betting 10-1 on Kyle Busch and 10-1 on Ross Chastain is really, really nice. And Larson at 7 is still fine. I don't really trust Cindric, honestly. 8-1 especially. I'm not touching that. And then Reddick and Byron, like, no thanks. I'd much rather bet Larson at 7, even if Reddick or Byron win. I'll feel better about it.
Yeah, it's so hard to bet in the Cup Series specifically. Somebody at 350.
Yeah,
that just does not seem.
Especially when that somebody's not Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Alex Bowman at 15, Jordan Taylor at 18, 5-1 to top 3, 225 to top 5 is kind of interesting. Bell at 30, McDowell at 40. As we kind of dive into these longer shots, Brian, is there any of these guys that you're willing to? I mean, you talked a little about Hamlin. Do you think he's worth a look at 50-1, or do you think he's more of a top 5-ish play rather than an outright play?
I mean, just recent history tells us that Hamlin has no shot to win here. But that being said, like, we really don't know how the race is going to turn out. With obviously, it's a pretty big change, and we're in a brand new package. Also, mind you, it's the first road course with the new downforce package.
Yeah.
So, like, single lap speed and 5-lap average, that is not going to be the best indicator as to how these guys are going to run when they're on an elongated green flag run of 20 laps, 25 laps. Like, we don't know what kind of fall off we're going to see because we have never experienced it in this package so far.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind going with Hamlin, Logano. Like, you're talking about Joey Logano, who, as much as I dislike this guy or betting this guy, 40-1 to win a race, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, 5-1 to top 5. That's really nice.
I mean, even if it's just like a quarter unit, I don't mind going with that, especially if he fires off pretty good and he's inside the top 15 early. Like, he's going to drop 25-1, 30-1 rather quickly on in the live market.
Yeah, hell, even Blaney, like 50-1. Like, we expect him to perform well. If he can do some unique things, maybe he's in the mix in stage 3, and then you're happy to be holding that ticket. But pretty interesting. It's also really interesting to see guys like Gragson, who's starting 10th, Jones, who's starting 8th.
I was just going to say Jones starting 8th at 60-1 is a good indicator as to how they feel over the long run. His car is going to perform, like, right,
and how he's going to perform. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Also a good indicator for when you're building DraftKings lineups, if you're looking for a guy who maybe look at the top 10 market, top, in group qualifying, and see if there's a guy that's standing out above. Maybe you narrow it down to a handful of drivers, look for the best numbers, and then kind of go from there. So It really is a haves and have-nots for this week's race, and you really want to get in terms of betting, you want to get to the upper echelon.
Okay, just to hit this real quick, I'm looking at the FanDuel odds. They have Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney all posted at 25-1. So if you're even thinking about betting on them, like make sure as long as they're available to you, do it at DraftKings.
Yep. Always shop it because you will find better numbers, whether it's Bet Rivers or Bet MGM or PointsBet, whatever you have access to. Let's see here. Torrance top 5. I can hop over to FanDuel. Do they have top 10s posted, Brian?
Let's see. They do not, of course.
Of course not. So
the only one that I see that does is Caesars.
Okay. If you could drop that in the private chat for me, I'll hop over there in a second. Let's look at the head-to-heads over on DraftKings. We have Logano versus Hamlin, -115 for Logano. Kind of like that. Even if Brian is a little more bullish on Hamlin, I think it's interesting. Chastain -110, Kyle Busch -110, pretty reasonable. Chastain's now +115 against Kyle Larson. I like that a lot. I like Daniel Suarez a lot over Austin Cindric. Is that on the card yet? I gotta see, because if not, it is going on the card.
Yeah, you don't want to get too heavily invested in a single matchup.
No, you sure don't. But it is not on the card, so I will be adding that. It is an early contender for my best bet for this week. So just to let everybody know where my head's at as we sit here right now. Let's see if I can.
Oh man,
do this. So +100. Yeah. Kimmy versus Jenson Button. -120. That's all we have right now. Okay, so yeah. Once again, we're recording this Saturday afternoon before all the March Madness stuff. If you find props you like, head-to-head matchups, top 10 bets, and you want our feedback on it, always drop those in the comments. Brian and I try and loop back a couple times before the show just to answer any questions or go over anything that you guys may have on the go. So please do that, as well as smash the thumbs up if you're enjoying what we're doing. And we have noticed a few more of you are hitting that subscribe button. So if you are watching us, especially if you're watching us with any sort of consistency and you're enjoying the content we're putting out, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It helps us grow the show. It helps us keep doing this. And it helps us keep pushing out content to you. We appreciate everybody who's hopping along with us each and every week, and we want to keep this going. All right, so we should go to scheduled. Let's look at some head-to-heads. We'll keep that vibe going. Ty Gibbs versus Jimmy. That is crazy juice, but probably warranted. Hamlin versus Keselowski. Truex versus Briscoe. So that's actually. Oh no, it's gone up a little bit. So we got it at -105. It's -110 here. Buescher +110 versus Logano. Is that enough value for you, given what expectations seem to be on Buescher, or would you need a little bit better of a number based on where they're starting?
Honestly, I'd probably need a little bit better of a number, especially after seeing how fast like Penske was last week going into the race, and just in general, it's not difficult for me to admit Joey Logano is probably a better driver than Buescher.
I'm going to add Michael McDowell over Jordan Taylor, and that may be dumb. But like we saw when Josh Berry took his step up the first time, and like we've seen with some of these guys jumping on the road course cars, when that's not traditionally what they do, it sometimes there's a little bit of a learning curve, and I trust Michael McDowell to keep the car on the track, finish in the high teens, probably maybe flirt with the top 10, and I think that might be enough at +110 for me to take a gamble. So that is where my head's at for that one. Eric Jones -250 favorite against Austin Dillon. How wild is that?
That's freaking crazy.
All right, let's go to featured. So this is just the outright odds. Anything else jump out in terms of outrights here? Everything pretty similar. You can get a Larson at 7.5, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean they're all kind of the same everywhere right now. It honestly for me, I don't want to get too heavily invested in this week's race just because, like I said, this is the first race we've seen with the new package. No stage break cautions. Like I'm kind of in a wait and see mode to see how these guys strategically maneuver throughout the field here.
I wish we put more money on Dinger to top 10 because he's now minus 250. That's crazy. We got him minus 122. We got Bowman at even money. He's now minus 200. Truex is probably he's 140.
He's plus 140. So
yeah, you can probably find a better number elsewhere too. Maybe, I don't know.
You know, I'm actually going to add that Denny Hamlin top 10 at plus 160. I just feel he's the kind of guy that can save the tires a little bit more than others and potentially make his way.
Do you trust Hamlin over Blaney, Harvick, and Eric Jones to top 10 at all the same number?
Well, definitely over Eric Jones. Blaney is it's hard for me to think that he's gonna. I mean, that's 28 spots.
Yeah.
That's 28 cars he's gonna have to maneuver past in a new car package that he already, locked the brakes up and diving it too deep into turn 1, I believe it was. So there's a lot of risk there with him.
I'm gonna roll it 14-1 to top 10.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Jensen Button 10-1.
Yeah, you could have some fun taking some long shots, but like this really does, like we're at Talladega or Daytona. It feels like it could be a wild one. This feels like it's pretty set.
Fudge or nickel.
Is your bet gone?
Well, so looking at the top Toyota now, like we were way too early on Martin Truex Jr. He's 12-1 now.
We can bet Ross Chastain is top Chevy and Tyler Reddick is top Toyota at 6-1. Just kind of interesting. Let's see, top Toyota. Yeah, I didn't bet any of those, so I could get in on that now.
Tyler Reddick is minus 450 to finish as the top Toyota. That is ridiculous.
Chris Bell at 750 at top Toyota is interesting too. I'm gonna do that. If I could type.
You can get Logano at 7-1 for top Ford. Cindric is at minus 135.
So I'm adding Truex at 12-1 and Christopher Bell at 7.5-1 to be top Toyotas. And I'll put a little bit on there and just see if I can't find myself a winner. Actually, let me just put 0.25 on both of them. Let's see, Fords. Yeah, Cindric, that's crazy. Brisk Logano, I'd be fine with. I mean, it is interesting. Like, you need Cindric to probably wreck to not have him be the top Toyota, just because all these guys are starting so far back, or top Ford rather. Byron,
I will say
Chastain 5-1 to be top Chevy. But I guess if he's because of all the names that are in here, if they're the top Chevy, they're probably top 3, top 5. If not
exactly.
winning.
They're probably winning the race.
Yeah. Winning manufacturer. Chevy is minus 175. Toyota's plus 290. And Ford is plus 425. Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be priced accordingly. So Okie doke. Anything else you want to look at, Brian, before we review our betting card, add anything last minute, and then potentially get out of here?
No, like I said, I'm playing it a little safer this week. There's just too much. And also, too, it is interesting to note, we've seen this in the past when Chase Elliott was dominating on these road courses. Like, it was basically a fool's errand of trying to pick out outrights outside of Elliott. So, I mean, if Reddick is legit on road courses as what we saw last year, and it's clearly that single lap run, it was the driver, not the car. I mean, he's going to run away with it, and then everything is going to be kaput in terms of outright. So,
the best we can get on Ross Chastain is 10-1, right?
Yeah. So I am adding that. That is like V1. I came into the week loving him. I didn't mind the number early, but I waited.
We're getting a better number.
Yeah, I'll take the 10-1.
Okay. So I have 4 outrights. I have Chastain at 10-1, Suarez at 16. Bowman at 20 and Larson at 650. I still like Larson and Chastain at their numbers. Wouldn't fault anybody who bet Kyle Busch at 10-1 if you can get that. I went McDowell over Jordan Taylor. I went Suarez over Cindric, Chastain over Larson, Bowman over Blaney, Dinger over Byron, Truex over Briscoe was my best bet from Wednesday. Dinger top 10, Bowman top 10, Truex top 10. Added Christopher Bell and Truex as top Toyotas. And my best bet is going to be Daniel Suarez over Austin Cindric. I may look like an idiot for that. Cindric may run away with this, but I'm willing to bet that doesn't happen, and I'm going to put 4 units on that.
Very nice.
Spicy meatball.
Yeah, so I only added 1 outright to the card, and that's going to be Ross the Boss at 10-1 for a full unit there. And then really the only addition that I made to my card was going to be AJ Allmendinger over William Byron over at FanDuel at -108. And then Denny Hamlin top 10 at Caesars at +160.
Yeah, I think both of those make sense. What is your best bet as we sit here right now, Brian?
Well, since we've started recording here, every time we're at a road course, I started calling him Dinger the Ringer for a reason. I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger over William Byron. I'm going to put 3 units on that. I just think in terms of history and what they've done at these types of tracks, that is definitely skewed in Dinger's way. And then he, versus William Byron, has experience in races that didn't include cautions at stage breaks, where Byron does not. So I think Dinger definitely holds an advantage over the long run here. So that's why I'm going this.
I'm going to ride with you. Add it to my card. Like I said, if you're enjoying what we do, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe and let us know your best bet down in the comments. We really are always looking for new ways to attack the betting board, always looking for new angles. And in the past, you guys have given us some good options, so we would love to keep that going. That is Brian Twining. I am Kyle Robert. Enjoy the race, and we'll talk to you guys next time.